Hello, and welcome back to our fifth episode of The Widow's Nest, where today we're going to be speaking on how to love yourself. For so long, we've learned how to love everyone else, but we don't always take time to love on ourselves. We say all the time, I give to other people before I give to myself. I'll give somebody my last. I'll sacrifice. I'll go without. But how many of you know that according to the scripture, that we are to love our neighbors as we love ourselves? So sometimes we're doing things a little out of order, and when we don't get the respect that we need back or the thanks that we get back, we get a little upset and we say, I ain't doing this no more. I'm not going to give myself away anymore. I'm not going to make all of these sacrifices for other people anymore. And basically, it's because if we would have spent more time loving ourselves, building up ourselves, learning things about ourselves, then we won't be so disappointed if others don't do it, because we're not looking to them to do it. We're doing it ourselves. We know how to love ourselves. We know how to take that time aside to make sure that we are mentally, physically, and spiritually okay. And that's what we're going to talk about. In the past couple of shows, we talked about our loss, we talked about our spouses, we talked about what to do with those memories, and we talked about putting them in a safe place so that they don't trigger certain thoughts in us, and we get a grip on that grief, and that we can move forward, we turn our fears into fuel. We talked about a lot dealing with the loss of our loved one, accepting that loss of our loved one. But once we get beyond those points and we get a little bit more settled in our emotions and in our hearts about the loss of our spouse, there's another journey that begins. And that journey is finding out who you are, what's important to you, what you need in your life today. And that's what we're going to talk about today, how to love on yourself. And we're going to do that by understanding that before the foundations of this earth, that God had a plan for you, that you're not an accident, you're here on purpose, for a purpose. And before you got married, before you identified yourself, I'm going to scoot up a little bit here, before you identified yourself as a wife or a mother or a girlfriend or daughter, whatever, God had a plan for you. He said he knew you before the foundations of this world. So anything that he had planned for your life still goes. Nothing has caught him by surprise. It may have caught you by surprise, a few things, but you still have purpose and you still have life to live inside you. So I want to say to you, if nobody has told you today, God loves you and he has not forgotten you. And there is still a lot left for you to do. But we got to take time to figure out what those things are. But today, before we take time to figure out what those things are, then maybe we'll do that in the next show. We're going to talk about a few other things today, and that is how to love on ourselves mentally, spiritually, and physically. When I first began working on myself, the first thing that I did was like I told you, I did the physical thing. I had to learn to love myself physically. I had to learn to take a look at where I was and go to the doctors, get all the numbers, get all the data, all the statistics, all everything that I needed to determine where I was at that point in my life health-wise. And that's how I loved on myself. And I began to do the necessary things. I began to learn new recipes and new diets that I could do so that I could eat, because like I shared with you, I was diagnosed a diabetic and I had high blood pressure. So those two things coupled with stress and depression was getting off the charts. I think I was at 11 something as far as my A1C. And I could feel it. I could feel it in my body that I was just killing myself. I mean, I was just tired all the time and didn't have any energy. I felt like I was swollen all the time. I was retaining, I guess, water or whatever. I wasn't ever a really big sweet eater, but I was still keeping a lot of headaches. My eyes were getting tired. So some of the things I had to do in order to love myself was make up my mind that I'm in charge of this body. This body is to do what I say to do. I don't do what my body tells me to do. I need to take control of what I put into my body, how often I put it into my body, and when it's going to exercise and when it's going to relax. And that was part of loving myself, taking that time to find new interesting recipes to try so that eating wouldn't be a strenuous thing. One of the things we go through when we become empty nesters, if you're home alone as a widow or a widower, is that learning how to cook for just one, that could be a little difficult. So I had to learn how to make smaller meals because I was wasting a lot of food. Because if you're like me, once I eat it once or twice, I don't want it anymore. So I was making these big pots of food, and there was nobody around to eat because, like I said, I moved away. I was the only one there in the house. There wasn't no grandkids coming by. There was no children coming by. So either I ate it or it went in the trash. So just learning how to cook for one. And one of the good things I will say, because I didn't have to cook for a whole family anymore, and I didn't have to be so particular about whether someone else in the household was going to like what I like or wanted to eat what I eat. I got to shop however I wanted to shop, and I would love on myself in that way. I would go in, if I wanted to buy myself a lobster, I'd buy myself a lobster. If I wanted a good juicy steak, and I love me a good juicy steak, I had steak. I could buy the things that I wanted to buy because I didn't have to buy a whole bunch for a whole lot of people. I could package it up. I can buy a value pack and then separate it into the little bags and have this meal for this day, so I'm not unfreezing that whole big pack of meat all over again. So I was loving on myself even by doing that because I began to prepare, and that helped me to save. And I was getting the things that I wanted, and I was able to eat and do it however I wanted to do it. And that's one of the blessings too when you become a empty nester or a widow, or you get to make up your mind, and then if I wanted to not eat certain things, I ain't have to worry about cooking this for this person because they're not on the same journey I'm on when it comes to food. There's nobody else to compete with me in the house. I could do it however I want to do. I could take my long bubble baths and sit in the tub and just soak in and smell those fresh scents, and enjoy that time without rushing to get up to go tend to someone or to do something. I learned how to love on myself, and we have to be selfish sometimes like that. You can't just always be available to everyone else, so you end up resenting it. You end up resenting other people. You say, every time I decide to do something for myself, here comes somebody. Well, there's nothing wrong with you taking yourself off of everybody's agenda, not going and volunteering and not being available for everybody, because when your body goes through a shaking like it goes through losing a loved one and experiencing loss, it takes a while to get your footing back. You're really, really, really shook up. So why not take that time? Believe it. Believe me, and believe it or not, the world will not fall apart because you took 3 to 6 months off to deal with your grief and work on yourself. People will move on. They will find other people to nag. They will get it done. They will find other ways to get done what they need to get done. But you have to make yourself a priority. You have to begin to love on yourself and say, for this season right now, I'm just going to be still and I'm just going to work on me. So those are some of the things that I did health-wise to deal with me moving forward and to love myself, to give myself a hug, and started looking at my skin, started working on my skin. I've always been a Mary Kay girl, so I started using my products again, and just taking time and just keeping my skin moisturized, just making myself feel good, just loving on me, and we have to do that. Find out what your favorite products are and go buy those products for yourself. It's okay to spoil yourself a little bit, as long as it's within your budget. They got, I tell you, one of my favorite body baths is Suave, and I get that at the dollar store, but I like the way it suds up. So, it doesn't take a whole lot to love on yourself. What does it take is the time to do it. Make yourself a bubble bath. Go get you some products that you enjoy and make sure that you use them. Make sure you take time, set time aside to do those things, to do your face cleansings, to do, take care of your body. If you're a man, what things do you enjoy doing? Take your time out and learn how to care and love on yourself. You don't have to always wait for someone to come in and give you permission to love yourself. God has already given you permission. He's also given you a command, because God doesn't give suggestions, he gives commands. And he gave the command that you are to love your neighbor as you love yourself. So love yourself so that you can properly love your neighbor. Okay? So that's one of the things that we want to deal with. Also, growing mentally. Like I talked to you before, how do we love ourselves mentally? We take the time to think about what we're thinking about. Okay? We touched base on some of these things before, but we're going to go a little deeper every time we talk about it. And one of the things mentally that was bothering me, and that bothers other people when I hear them talk about it, is whether or not, whether we should still wear our wedding rings, or whether we should keep pictures up of our spouses after they pass in the house, and how long do you wait to remove these things, or take care of these things. And I would say that's totally up to you. But if you're going to be a judge as to when you need those things to go away, when they're mentally not serving you anymore, when they bring you more, when they depress you more than they more than they make you feel well, or they bring you down more than they lift you up. In those times, maybe it's time to maybe take the pictures down. And just like we did with our mental thoughts, when we looked back and we journaled and we wrote those things, we took them out of our head and we wrote them into a book so that we could make room for new memories and thoughts. Well, maybe you can do that for your pictures and your album books that you have, that's displayed all over the place, and that keep reminding you over and over that your wife or your husband is gone. Put them in a place that when you want to go and look at it, it's there, but it's not constantly in your face. So if it's not blessing you and it's just depressing you, take it down. Take it down, because it's more important for you to be healthy and to be in a good state mentally. And the same thing with the ring. If you look at your ring and it just reminds you that you're single again, that you lost your husband, maybe, or that you lost your wife, maybe you should take the ring off, and put it away. Sometimes people put it on the other hand, because maybe you're ready to move forward, but you keep wearing a ring so everyone thinks that you're still married, and you want to move that over if you're trying to move forward, or take it off, or make a necklace out of it or something to that nature, if you want to keep it close to your heart. So there's all kinds of ways that we love on ourselves, and we do that by not constantly putting more on us than we can bear. We tell ourselves that if we move forward, if we take down the pictures, if we take off the rings, that somehow that we're erasing all the beautiful things that we had with our spouses, and that's not so. All of that lives in here, all of that lives in here, and you're never going to forget them. But you can hinder yourself from experiencing new things by feeling like you got to carry that baggage with you everywhere you go. Your past has always got to be on your back. So today we want to stay in the present. We want to talk about the present. Like I said, in the past shows, we talked a lot about our spouses, the loss of our spouse, the wonderful things that we love, some of the things that we didn't love. But what are some of the wonderful things that you love about yourself? Like I said, you were a big part of that relationship. He or she became who they were because of what you contributed to that relationship. So what are some of the mental things that you loved about yourself, that you brought to that relationship, that you would like to keep? Because remember I said, before the foundations of the world, God created you with a purpose, on purpose. So there's still something for you to be doing. You're still breathing in air. You're still alive and well. So what are some of those things that you enjoy doing? You can begin working on those things to love on yourself. Like I said, I like to sing. And I was singing on this app called Shmule. And I have about maybe 3,000, or maybe, is that about 3,000 songs? I know I got a lot of songs that maybe it's 1,000 or something, 1,300, I don't know. I know it's a lot of songs that I have on this app, and that was a way that I got through a lot of my depression. That was a way that I um, kept moving forward. I love to sing, so I would get on this app, sing with people all around the world. You know, sometimes people would join in. I would record a song where someone could join in, or they would record a song and I would join in, or I would just do a solo, and I would just sing those songs, and I just sang that pain and stuff right out of my heart. Some nights when I couldn't sleep, that was like my getaway. I was home alone. I was by myself. I set up and get on there and just sing my little heart out on this little Shmoo app. And I made so many good friends, and I met so many people around the world just doing that. So mentally, we have to begin to make outlets for ourselves too. Find things that you enjoy doing. Even like I said, studying and understanding what exactly this loss means to you. What does it mean, so that when those feelings and emotions pop up, you're not so off guard all the time. You say, okay, this is a moment, this is normal, this is what happens when you lose a spouse. I'm okay, I'm still on the right track here. And you're not so easily derailed all the time. So we want to do that. We want to listen to me, my broadcast, and other people like me who are excited about sharing with you our journey. I was so excited about sharing with you about loving yourself. I even wore my red sweater with my hearts on it today. There you go. Because I want you to know that you are loved. That God loves you and I love you, and I want you to love yourself, because there is something very beautiful and special about you that's worth loving and worth getting to know. But you have to believe it first. You have to want to get to know yourself. You have to dig a little bit deeper and find out those things that are unique and special about yourself. So that's something that we do mentally, to keep ourselves at peace, so that we're not always battling in our minds about if I'm doing something wrong, because I'm trying to relax and enjoy myself. Go to spa and get a massage if you just need to relax your mind and your body. You got both of them in one there. You know what I'm saying? And you can just listen, like the sounds that they play. That's really peaceful. That brings that peace back into your life. You know, that's what you want to do. Create that atmosphere of peace in your heart and in your home. And, you know, ask yourself, what scents do you like? What flowers do you like? For me, it's the gladiolus. I love those big white ones. There's a lot of them on there. They spread out real big. They're tall. You can put them in a large vase, and they just fill up so big. And I can't wait till they come back in season, so I can put some beautiful gladiolus all around the house. And I just love, you know, soft powdery smells. It's something about coming into a clean house that has a nice fresh scent, a lavender scent, or a gardenia scent, or some type of a powdery scent. Give me 1 second. Some kind of powdery scent. I just like, you know, a clean, fresh house. And that helps me to feel better. That helps me to feel like I'm alive and things are going well and I'm in control in some sense, you know. So I try to take care of my home and make sure that, you know, everything's in place, so that I can categorize the things that I want to talk about and I want to do without a whole bunch of clutter and things that got me feeling so crazy. So does your atmosphere in your home bring peace to you, or is it bringing disruption? Is it too much clutter and things around to where you can't think straight and you can't form a thought, or you can't sit down and do the things you want to do? Well, maybe the first thing you can start doing while you're decluttering your mind, start decluttering your house, you know. Clean out those things, take them to the Goodwill. You know, one of the things I did when my husband passed, I knew that I wasn't going to wear any of those men clothes, and my husband had lots and lots of suits and shirts and dress pants and dress shoes and watches and cologne and all that other good stuff. So I called my sons over and I said, hey, if you want any of these things, come over and get them, because mommy's moving and I gotta pack all of this stuff up. So if you want it, come and get it, else it's going to the Goodwill. And I didn't make a big deal out of it. I didn't make, you know, start holding on to a whole bunch of things and stuff like that. I let them come and I let them try on. I let them take whatever they wanted of their fathers with them. And whatever was left, we donated. And I thank God that I didn't make that a big deal. Some people do make that a big deal, letting go of those personal things. However, there are some things that I did keep, and I had them in a box in my storage. And I think some things I'll probably have to return to my sons when I do go back home to visit next time, because I'm sure that they would like to display those things. I don't no longer display those things in my home anymore because I'm ready to move forward, and I just don't. And you could decide. When I was first trying to create my atmosphere, and I didn't want everything displayed around the house, but I liked knowing that he was there and having him look at me. Because one of the things that he's always was encouraged me whenever I was working in my office and I came up with all these great ideas, at least I thought they were great ideas. He would always come in and he'd be so excited. So what you doing? What you doing? And I would share it with him and everything. He'd be like, oh, that's great. So for the first year or so, when I first moved to Rockingham, though I didn't display all the pictures within the house, I did put it up in my office. And every now and then I would look up and say, so what do you think? So what do you think I should do about that? So it was like a good conversation piece for me, and it made me feel not so, less lonely. So, how's that working for you? How are you dealing with the putting things away, the reorganizing and structuring things so that it reflects the person you are now, not so much who you were then? I realized I didn't even like a lot of the colors that I had back in the home. I did a lot of earth tones, browns, and tans and greens and things like that when I was in burgundies, when I was in my home with my husband. But I decided to do different colors. I mean, even though, as you can see, I got some of this brown, and I did some gray. I did a little bit lighter. I went a little bit different this time, and my furniture is like a gray color. So, I'm trying to develop my style today, something more modern, something a little softer. And that's a good thing about it. For men, you can have your cave and nobody's here putting flowers around it. And for women, you can have your boutique and nobody's here putting all these men tires and racing cars all over the place. You could actually make this a great adventure just by asking yourself, what is it going to take for me to feel good, for me to love on me and create an atmosphere that I can thrive and grow in? Do it. Just do it. Don't second guess yourself. Love yourself. Choose you. Choose yourself. And go ahead forward and do those things that you want to do. Now, the other thing is our spiritual growth, because we want to build the whole man, right? And so the other thing is how are you growing spiritually? Where are you at in your faith as far as what you believe? For me, I'm happy to say I'm in a better place because, like I said, me and God was on the outs there for a minute when it first happened, because I just felt like he should have healed my husband, and I shared that with you guys in the past. But he has healed my husband. He just didn't heal my husband on this side. He healed him on the other side. And my husband lived for heaven. I mean, that was his whole purpose, living right so he could be with God. And so he fulfilled his purpose. He did what he came here to do, and he did it well. And I believe he is with God. My thing is how am I going to live my life? What's going to make me happy, and what's going to be pleasing to God? What does he want me to do with this part of my life? And I think I'm doing it right now. I think that he's turned this pain into purpose for me. Even me sharing with you now is not something that I imagined doing. I just want to talk about happy, good stuff, traveling, doing all these fun things. But it's been such a healing for me to just talk and let these things out. And hopefully it's been healing for you too. And I don't know how long, this purpose and this passion will be burning for the widow's nest. But one thing I do know is that it's necessary, because when I went to look for this, I couldn't find it. So I became the answer to my own problem. I needed to talk about it. I needed to hear from people and make sure that this was normal. Everything that I was going through was normal. So spiritually, I feel like I'm getting a lot stronger. God began to show me how he has been there the whole time. There's so many stories I can share with you about when I was in a hospital and I was feeling like I couldn't get certain things done, and how God was orchestrating in the background and working things out on my behalf. And it was just like a miracle after miracle. I remember one time I needed to get the power of attorney paperwork done, and Mike wasn't having a good day that day. And when the lady came up, the notary, she said she didn't feel comfortable doing the power of attorney work because Mike wasn't having a good day. But she said, Miss Cleveland, when everything goes well, when he's having a good day, just call me. I promise I'll come back up and we'll get all of this done. Well, he was having a good day, and Mike told me to call the lady and ask her to come back. So I did. And when she came back up, we were so excited. And she was like, well, where are your witnesses? I said, what do you mean? I said, I have my son here. My son was there with us. She said, well, no, you need 3 more witnesses. I said, well, you didn't say that. You told me that when he was having a good day to call you and you would come back up. So right when I was having this conversation with the 3 of Mike's co-workers came walking in the door. And I was so busy trying to understand what she was asking from me. I said, hey guys, I said, can you give us 1 minute? We're in the middle of a meeting. And she said, no. She said, Mike, do you know who these guys are? And he said, yeah, these are my co-workers. That's so-and-so. She said, do you gentlemen mind being witnesses on some paperwork that Mike has to sign? I said, no, Mike, if you need us to sign something, we'll be glad to sign. So God was always sending in little angels and always orchestrating things out for my behalf, and so that Mike could do the things that he wanted to do to make sure that I would be okay going forward. So when I think about that, and trust me, it's been a lot more of little things when I got my mind off of myself and I began to look for God in those areas, and he began to show me how he was there all the time, that he was working it out all the time. And I tell you, one of these days maybe I'll share a little bit more, some miracles, some crazy things that took place. And I wasn't readily seeing it because I just wanted him to get well. But as I look back and as things started changing in my life and I got a little bit more still, I was like, wow, God, you do love me. Wow, God, you did love Mike. You love us both. You were working this out so that both of us would be okay once the decision was made. So I thank God that he is God and that he knows everything. We know in part. We don't understand why things happen, but God knows and he understands. And he's the only one who promised never to leave us nor forsake us. So when we start feeling like we are due something, he owes us something, he really doesn't, and everything that we have is only because of him. I'm so grateful to even have the experience of being a wife and having a good husband. Like I said, so many don't even have that testimony. So I know that I am blessed to even have these things to reflect back on. The fact that I even care to talk about it shows that at some point I was truly loved. And I'm glad to say that I am a to death do you part kind of woman, okay? I was able to stay with my husband till death did us part, and he stayed with me till death did us part. And that's a blessing to be able to say. So you were loved, you were loved, he was loved, and you are still loved. God loves you, I love you, So we have to begin to love ourselves, okay? Don't just think about the things that you don't have. Don't think about the things that you hope to have in the future. Right now, today, learn to love yourself. Learn to listen to your mind and to feel things in your heart and to laugh and to go out and just do things and take no care for tomorrow. For tomorrow has enough cares of its own. For today, learn how to stay in the moment. Live in today, okay? It's okay to reflect. It's okay to remember. But it's more important to cherish this day, for tomorrow is not promised. Cherish this day. It's the pastor says, as for me and my, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day. So let this day here be the day that you begin to find some joy in your heart again, that you begin to look inwardly and see what it is that you can do and find out what are those lovable, great things about you that God created from the beginning of this earth, because your life didn't begin or end with a man. It begins with God's purpose for you from the beginning of the world, before you were even formed in your mother's womb. God had a plan for your life. Whether you're male, female, God had a plan for your life. And your goal is to discover what that purpose is and what that plan is, and to go ahead and live it out. Live it to the fullest. Live life to the full. Live in full expectation, understanding that this too shall pass. Okay? Even though it may not feel like it may be uncomfortable going through it, you might kick and scream and cry going through it. This too shall pass. And one day you'll be able to use your experience to be a blessing and a help to someone else who may find themselves on this road of widowhood and on this journey to widowhood. So, thank you for joining me again for the Widow's Nest. And thank you for giving me a reason to wear this red sweater with all my hearts and my little diamond and my little blingy blingy. I realize that I do like a little bling in my life. So what are you realizing about yourself? Share it with me. Go on my Facebook page to the Widow's Nest, or visit me on my website, which is thewidowsnest.com, and let's talk about it. Share with me your thoughts, how you're loving yourself, how you're moving forward, how you're staying in the present, and together we're going to talk and walk our way through this journey called widowhood. God bless you. Bye-bye.